Hello, what is up everybody? It's me, Mario here, and I'm from the likes of the Maxi Toys videos, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next installment of the Forms of the Kirby Let's Plays department. You know how the fact that in the last month ago, how the fact of the matter is though, is the fact that I'm presuming Joy, that she did manage to tackle everybody in Forms of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, but now this time around though, we're now going to be jumping into the next entry of the Forms of the Kirby Let's Play department, and also the brand new Let's Play for the time, and that's the Forms of Kirby Mouse Attack, aka Kirby Squeak Squad for the Nintendo DS. I say DS is because, well, this game was first released in the Forms of 2006 and a year later in Europe in 2007. I'm not sure why the PAL version of Kirby Mouse Attack still says copyright 2006, but it wasn't meant to be. But I digress. This wasn't the first Nintendo DS game of Kirby games to ever be released. No, the first one was actually Forms of Kirby Power Paintbrush for the Nintendo DS due to the actual, you know, stylus controls usage, and able to actually just manage to demonstrate of how DS's capabilities of. So, this was technically the second Nintendo DS Kirby game to be released. So even then though, that makes the job done. And okay, so this might be something to do with like, going back into a traditional Kirby style of gameplay, much like how it does it from previously. So even then though, as you probably expected at this point though, that I might as well able to get this thing started right there. And obviously I'm going to be using on the Nintendo Wii U eShop download version of this game, just because of the actual quality of the game is very, very impressive, like 1080p and all that stuff, which is super surprising. And that's because of how the fact that I'm still pretty lacking when it comes to DS capture card recording and all that stuff. So even then though, let's get started right there by the Forms of Kirby Mouse Attack. And you do have a couple of modes to choose from, just like in the Forms of Kirby, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror and Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. Or just like in those two, we still got ourselves the Forms of those sub-games to play through, but obviously we're gonna have to show those in the extra video. And of course, we couldn't leave without the Forms of the Collection Room, just like in the Forms of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, although at the moment we haven't got anything at the moment just yet though, so even then though that everything else is in locked at the moment. Until when we actually get into the main story of the game, so even then though, as you can see, that I'm actually going to be shifting between both the top screen and both screens at the same time, just for this episode, because even then though, until we get to the main story right there, actually I'll get into more details on the actual story mode until we're actually going to get this thing started. But in Forms of Kirby Mouse Attack, or as in this case in North America, Kirby Squeak Squad for the Nintendo DS. So things can get pretty interesting though, because even then though, that will explain more details about the actual game itself, once we're able to actually just about to get started and jump in. So, as usual, we're going to be going for 100% completion, so even then though, that might be something that's worth mentioning. Early afternoon in Dreamland. It's so peaceful that even the clouds are dozy. Or drowsy, I mean. And now, it's Kirby's favorite time of the day, snack time. Today's yummy snack is a sweet, fluffy slice of strawberry shortcake. Time to dig in! What? Who nicked that anyway? Jeez. What? The cake Kirby was about to eat has suddenly vanished. That suspicious berry-topped slice of mouth-watering goodness. No doubt about that, or no doubt about it, this might be work of that greedy King Dedede. Well, there's no time to waste, gonna get that cake back. And that's how Kirby's latest fantastic adventure begins. So yeah, we don't transport into the forms of the dimensional mirror after all, so we're now going to be transported into the forms of just still Dreamland. So, Yeah, if you ever played any other Kirby games before in the past, you know exactly how this game plays out to be, ever since during the likes of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror for the Game Boy Advance. You're still able to fly, and you're still able to actually just inhale enemies to get Kirby abilities from this, so even then though, that everything is all accounted for, and no matter what though, there's no Metroidvania style of gameplay this time around though, it's just traditional Kirby platforming from point A to point B. Oh, thank God. Can you see how the forms of how some of these events were, but in forms of any other Kirby games at this point in time? If I was going to be doing it, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror after all that, I'll just lose my goddamn mind. But anyways though. As you can see, we got ourselves the returning of the forms of the Kirby abilities, and just like before, not only do we get ourselves the old-fashioned ones, but also you might as well come across into these new ones as well, which we're about to get to it in just any points noticing. So as you can see, we've got ourselves the Beam and the Spark ability, and as you can see, I managed to dip myself a bit of a tap from left to right from the directional pad simultaneously, because since Kirby Superstar, that way I can able to actually perform myself a powerful spark ability. So even I know that, although I do apologize about the fact that my Kirby ability doesn't usually display every time when I was trying to do a most ineffective power ability and stuff like that for that nature, because as you expected, because of capture cards you know, effectiveness every time whenever these sprites are registering. So even nano, yeah. Another returning ability is the forms of the fire ability. Now, compared to how he does it in both Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland and Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, is the fact that both of these fire abilities, which are regular fire and burning ability, are all separate. This time, however, though, is the fact that while fire ability can do a combination of the two, ever since during the likes of Kirby Superstar, I'm presuming, and also by the forms of, I would say, Kirby Dreamland 3 for that little small degree, but even then though, that could be something major conception for that. So now you can able to actually perform a flamethrower, or you can able to actually just trying to do a fireball dash attack. So even then though, that's the thing I liked about it. So even then though, everything else in that's recitable, on the other hand though, to make every two abilities all in one is a super piece of cake. So in fact, does this castle look familiar to you? It's the exact same design as the forms of how it does it in the forms of the anime TV series called Kirby Right Back at Ya, because that particular castle is kind of familiar because of the actual shape and all that stuff, but even then though, we're about to be investigating in here for the time, so even then though, that's without saying much. So even then though, that does it for the first level. So the first world in this game is actually known as is the forms of Prism Plains. So even then though, it's a very typical green hill type of nature settings and all that stuff, or the grasslands and I should say for this much. So anyways though, ever since you're doing the likes of I would say Dreamland 3, or and especially noticeable in Kirby 64 the Crystal Shards, we can just go through level to level with the menu navigation system and stuff like that. And also, if you couldn't tell in the bottom right corner, in fact I'll just demonstrate that as soon as we get to later on, but here's what the Kirby mouse attacks gimmick is all about. Because after all, ever since during the likes of how the fact that this game came out on the Nintendo DS, Bubbles Part 1. Tap to power up, you can keep up to 5 storage usage. So, if we shift over to the bottom screen for just a few moments noticing, as you can see, the main element about this game is the forms of Kirby's stomach. As you can tell, we actually got ourselves the Sword Kirby ability bubble, and every time you get, if you manage to obtain that, and if you manage to pull out the stylus out and able to actually tap on the bottom screen, your Kirby ability will be instantaneously able to transform itself. So even then though, you can only carry up to 5 units of the forms of the storage of the forms of Kirby's stomach. So even then though, that makes it a little bit more of a sort of an interesting mechanics. See, even then though, if you want to able to actually keep your Kirby ability that way with the bubbles and stuff, Bubbles Part 2, mix bubbles, try and see. And basically, that you can also keep your Kirby abilities, but also you can able to keep your food supplies. But if you manage to able to combine those two items all at once, then this will actually happen. If I manage to able to drag the cherry over to this little chicken right there, or this chicken drumstick, that way it will combine into the maximum tomatoes. Even then though, that if you want to able to actually restore your health every time you're gonna get hit several times by the forms of enemy contact here and there, then you can able to actually use that anytime, anywhere though. So even then though, because it was on Nintendo DS and it's still on the go, so yeah. The returning collectibles ever since and during the likes of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror is the forms of the treasures. Now, in the forms of the treasures themselves, you can able to actually normally obtain them once you're able to actually find them in the forms of the different areas. This time around though, in order to actually collect treasures in this game, is to simply we need to obtain one and able to actually keep that onto Kirby's stomach, and then that way we should able to actually keep them onto the forms of the inventory system. So even then though, if you manage to keep your treasures into your Kirby stomach, then you would able to actually classify to able to collect one of these collectibles based off from treasures. So as you can see, the first item we've got is the forms of the music sheets. So even then, that could be something when we actually get into the next level in the game. But even then, that's without saying much. So even then, as you can see, on the bottom right corner of the screen, that right now we're going to be moving on to level 1-3. And that's because of how the fact that there are some levels that usually contains either 1 treasure, 2 treasures, as you can see on 1-3, and also by the forms of 3 treasures, where we're about to begin to the next couple of levels up ahead. And yeah, if you probably couldn't tell already, is that the graphical style, especially noticeable with the music itself, how borrows every single aspect in the forms of, you know, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, because of the actual music you can hear in the background, looks very identical to how it does in the Amazing Mirror, except it's on the Nintendo DS's limitations. So even then though, that, well, obviously about the fact that the gameplay itself is relatively the same thing as how it does it from previously, except, oh Christ. Once again, much like in the forms of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, though, is the fact that in order to actually deal the enemies themselves, that you once again have to rely on the enemy health bars. So even then though, that if you want to able to demolish them completely, then you can able to actually just simply you can use one of those Kirby abilities and all that stuff, then you should able to actually expect it with. So even then though, let's go ahead and just burn this little fire tab right there, and that way we should able to demolish every single enemy as possible. Something I also liked about this game, or actually before I get to this however though, you know I've managed to obtain the cutter from earlier ago. Well, there you go, I've managed to obtain the fire ability on my Bubbles inventory system, and then similar to how it does it for food, you can also just mishmash between those 2 Kirby abilities into one. However, these are all randomized though, every time you're actually trying to do this though, on your hand though. So if that's the case, you can able to actually get something like Wheel, for instance, that I've managed to got here, and then it's all quite randomized though every time you actually use that. So anyway, so here we have ourselves the returning ice ability. There was one thing I liked about this game compared to how it does in the forms of any other Kirby games, even the future games as a result, we're about to get those in during later on, I also liked, is the fact that you can able to actually use those Kirby abilities in the forms of certain environments and all that stuff. Like, as you can tell, I can able to actually transform into water into ice. See, even then I can able to actually walk on, you know, just trying to walk through on water, despite the fact with, you know, just trying to create the ice cube platforms. So here's the introduction to the forms of the new Kirby abilities introduced in this game. And that's the forms of the animal Kirby ability. What you can do with this is the fact that you can able to dig through dirt, very much like the ones in the forms of before when Kirby's Epic Yarn. That's how you instantly manage to transform into the forms of the Mole Drill. That's kind of like that, except it's on the Nintendo DS and all that stuff. So, actually, before I get into more on the forms of animal Kirby ability, as you can see, we got ourselves a big treasure chest. So if we manage to obtain that compared to the red treasures, this will actually triggers, and even then, this will actually happens. Oh lord, there's a new enemy in town. Who the heck is these guys? Well, we'll never know until we're able to actually explain about the plot of the game until later on. Ah, jeez, I've lost my treasure. Swallow it! Okay, there we go. So yeah, if you manage to obtain the blue treasure chest, the bigger treasure chest I should say, you have to be sure you need to able to actually finish the level fast before they're able to try to nick your treasure that way. So even then, if you want to able to 100% everything, then be sure to able to obtain every single treasure. So as you can see, we got ourselves our sound player from the get-go this time around though, and also we've got ourselves the Kirby ability scroll, which I could assume this might be something to do with a fire ability. I could assume that much, because even then, we'll explain more on that until we're able to proceed to this game. So even then, now let's move on to level 1-4, in the forms of contains 3 treasure chests in mine. So even then, if that's the case, then we're about to jump in. And also, not only do you able to actually collect every single treasures in each level, you also need to obtain yourselves a secret levels to be unlocked. Somewhat similar to how it does in new forms of, you know, in Dino Blade, in new forms of Kirby Superstar, it's kind of like that. But except the fact of the matter is, though, is the fact that, pursuing the game as a whole, for that matter, is actually way too easy compared to how it does in any other Kirby games as a result of this matter. So even then, though, because of the fact that, well, there are still some really annoying moments here and there, like the forms of different enemy behavior and all that stuff. But, honestly, I found it really rare occasions whenever I just managed to get, you know, screwed over by the forms of some of these enemies sometimes. But even then, though, not to mention with the forms of the returning enemies from the past entries, we also managed to come across into the, you know, some brand new ones as well. So even then, though, that could be insane much. So, anyways, though, so here's the Sword Kirby right there, which just like in the forms of how it does it from previously, ever since the Amazing Mirror, you can simply just do like an uppercut or anything like that, or even just simply just use the 360 sword spin, just like how it does it from before. So everything else is all accounted for the most part, though. So, yeah, as you can see right there, that the Kirby's health system is now changed into the forms of, you gotta be kidding me. Oh, jeez, I need to find ourselves another sword to able to deal with right there. Even for that little, stingy little heavy knight, which even then, though, thankfully is a lot more easier this time around, though, to able to deal with him, in my opinion, though. Yeah, this feels pretty much exactly like how it does in Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, other than being like there's no multitude of Kirbys to be played around with. And also by the forms of how the fact that, or before I get into anything else, Invincibility Lollipop! It's been a while since I actually see this Invincibility Lollipop, because you don't usually get this ability as often in the forms of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. Well, there are some exceptions, mind you. So anyways, though. So if you couldn't tell right there, I can't grab myself my cherry bubble anymore. That's only because if you manage to go back to the bottom screen just for a little moment right there, my inventory is actually filled up. So if you want to able to actually get something replaced, like for instance if I was trying to able to eat up my cherry food real quickly so that I can restore my health, and then if I want to get myself my treasure because I need to add that into my Kirby stomach, and then if I want to replace as the forms of the fire ability real quickly, I can just simply able to actually get rid of my wheel abilities. We'll show that off later, and that way I can able to actually get my fire ability real quickly, and self-explanatory though, really though. And yeah, every time you actually grab those big treasure chests, some of these new threat in town was about to be trying to able to actually do something with your bigger treasure chest. So because of that though, we'll explain more details onto those particular system like this when we actually get into the later worlds in this game. In fact, there might be 8 worlds in this game, just like in the forms of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, and especially noticeable by the forms of well, I won't say Amazing Mirror though, because in the Amazing Mirror only contains like 9 worlds or 9 areas, or even 10 areas as a result, in addition to the you know, Dimension Mirror world, for able to actually deal with the final blow between Dark Meta Knight and the forms of Dark Mind too. So, but it's just how the fact that ultimately though, there are only 8 worlds in this game, just like you get in forms of Kirby's Adventure, and even Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. So, speaking of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, we got the returning of the forms of the paint sprays, which once again allows you to able to change color anytime, anywhere. But also not only that, we also got ourselves a jigsaw puzzle piece, and especially noticeable by the forms of these keys. Now what these keys can do, it will actually unlocks you a unlockable extra stages. So even then though, that I'm also going to go for these levels in a chronological order right there, so I'm also able to do the extra video or the extra level after level 5. So let's get started with this, shall we? In fact, level 5 is actually way shorter by the looks of all that, because as you can tell, there's not much anything else to do around in this level. So even then, as far as the level length is concerned, it was actually way more shorter, or sometimes the worlds themselves can get slightly shorter than that, but other than that, that's not much I could really discuss it from for that point. So as you can see right there, we actually got ourselves these 3 tiny Kirbys from their bubbles as a result, and if you manage to combine those 3 into one, that way you can get yourselves an extra life. So even then though, that seems the case. So, and also we got ourselves the randomizer, you know, copy ability orb, which that way it will actually just manage to able to randomize the forms of the actual copy abilities you want to take. So even then though, that, yeah. In fact, this level only contains 1 treasure chest. Even though there's not much else to say about this here. In fact, the gold minigame right there is actually feels a little bit more different this time around though, because Normally in Kirby and the Amazing Mirror though, they can simply just able to grind for more food and all that stuff and even extra lives. And before I get into this, however, though, we got ourselves another copy pellet, which can be something to do with the forms of a different pattern based off from the touchscreen base. So even then, though, that could be something worth mentioning, though. So now let's move on to level 1 extra levels. So even then, though, it only has like 2 treasure chests, which even then, though, that could be some consumption for this. So, oh, you gotta be kidding me. I got sucked up by the forms of this stupid gooey stuff. Actually, before we get to this, however, though, here we have a long-awaited returning Kirby ability ever since during the likes of, you know, Kirby Superstar. Here's the returning of the forms of the Ninja ability, which I'm really glad that ability makes a return. Which even then, just like it was in Kirby Superstar, you can simply just able to use the Ninja Star objects to able to actually throw at these enemies, and also it's kind of similar to how it does in the forms of Kirby 64, the Crystal Shard. Every time you're actually trying to combine both Cutter and the forms of the bomb ability as well, so that way you can do like that kinds of stuff too. So here we have the returning bomb ability, which even then, just like before, you can simply just able to actually adjust which of those bomb throwings you want to throw at. So even then, you can either throw it upwards or sideways, or even just put the bomb down. So even though that makes it a little bit of the case here. So next ability returning is the forms of the Tornado ability, which ironically I know that the fact of the matter is though, is the fact that Joy actually did manage to skip that particular Kirby ability ever since during the likes of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. I don't know why it is, because I rarely use that on the Tornado anyway, other than for several occasions what we're about to be getting to later on. And speaking of such, here we have the returning high jump ability, which ever since during the likes of Kirby Nightmare in Dreamlands, that just like before, you can simply just jump higher for the win. So even then, I'm really glad that ability makes a return though. But even then, that could be something worth mentioning though. So yeah, again, this level only contains like 2 treasure chests and all that stuff. So even then, that I think we've actually grabbed 1 treasure chest at the moment. But even then, we might actually come across into another one when we're about to begin to at the very end of the level. So yeah. Because of this, however, though, is the fact that these levels are significantly shorter than the likes of how it does it from the previous entries in the series. Well, perhaps the most famously by the forms of Kirby Streamline 3, as a matter of fact. So, anyways, we got ourselves a big treasure chest here, so even then, let's get the heck out of here. While trying to able to actually get interrupted by the forms of the new encounters. So, even then, we'll explain more to these guys until we're able to proceed to the story. So, even then, yeah, with the goal minigame right there, you only have to just press the 1 button, and that's all you have to deal with by default. So if you can either grab the food supply or 1-ups occasionally, though, to simply able to actually get shot by the cannon. So here's the next jigsaw puzzle piece, and especially noticeable with the returning items ever since in Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, by the forms of the heart fatalities, which unlike in the forms of an Amazing Mirror, they can simply just collect 1 piece of heart before you're able to actually increase your health amount. This time around though, you have to collect about 2 pieces of the heart pieces before your health actually extends in with it, which even then though, you can guys definitely tell why until you're able to actually proceed to the next world. So speaking of which, you know how the fact that in the forms of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, right, they can simply just able to change your different color spray of Kirby in the forms of whenever you're trying to turn off the main game and turn it back on again, to able to actually just manage to select it with the collection room. Thankfully though, you can now able to jump into the forms of the collection room from the start this time around though, anytime and anywhere this time around though, by simply just able to pressing the start button and then during the middle point at the time, then you would able to actually just instantaneously trying to able to transform into your different color that way. So that's pretty awesome there. So even then, let's go ahead and get something out of it though. I'm not sure what that ability. Okay, we got a Cubit right there. The returning copy ability ever since during the likes of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror is the forms of Cubit, which just like before, you can able to fly with just your wings, and you can also shoot arrows with this, which honestly, I rarely use that for several occasions and other things, even though it's not my cup of tea. But anyways though, let's get this beam ability, and let's see what the first boss in this game I wonder should be. Well, it's pretty obvious at this point because of that little hint of the artwork. And here's King Dedede, the first boss in this game, which is kind of odd because normally he wasn't the final boss in the forms of Kirby's Dream Land, and in forms of Kirby's Adventure and Kirby Superstar after all, and even Kirby's Dream Land 2, Kirby's Dream Land 3, but now he's actually the first boss in this game, just like in the forms of way back in Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards. But anyways though, does that machine looks kind of familiar as well. Seriously, there's gonna be a lot of references, but in forms of based off from Kirby Right Back at Ya, but in forms of the actual TV series. So that's pretty cool for the most part, though. So, yeah, we got ourselves the boss badge, as you can tell right there. But I'll explain more on that later, though, because for now on, though, we're gonna have to end things off at this point right there. So join me next time on Let's Play Kirby Mouse Attack. It's the fact that we're going to be moving on to the next world in this game. So yeah, enjoy the cutscene, and we'll meet you guys for tomorrow. So see you guys next time. Later, fellas. What's this? Someone's stolen King Dedede's treasure chest? Beats me. Of course he doesn't know a thing about a strawberry shortcake. Okay then. So what's going on? Who's really behind the disappearing shortcake? Suddenly, a whirlwind appears, bringing a band of big-eared strangers. I think we already see these guys before from the get-go, though. Who are these guys? A band of thieves known as the Squeaks. Ah, so that's what they were, almost like a mouse syndrome. With treasure chests in tow, they begin to march jauntily away. Oh, that doesn't look too good to me. King Dedede acts as quick as a wink. Well, because he might actually help me for once again. So, who knows what he's gonna do with me. He grabs Kirby and hails him at the Squeaks. What a shot! He throws a perfect strike. The Squeaks teeter and lose their balance. Well, that's good for King Dedede to able to get as powerful strength as I do. But anyways though, they're all tumbled into a deep chasm, taking the treasure with them. Surely the shortcake is part of the lost loot. It looks like Kirby's quest isn't over yet. Well, I'm sure I can able to do with this no problem though.